Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you coming out this morning. I'd like to say thank you. We're finally at the point where we can introduce our new coach, which we're very excited about. It's been a couple of months search, but been very thrilling and exciting, and it was a very thorough process. But before, I'd like to certainly acknowledge members of the Mohegan Tribal Council, Mohegan Tribal Elders, all of our friends and coworkers and peers. We're really excited that you're here for this announcement. It's very exciting. I need to start to give credit where credit is due. Over the course of this search, I reached out to a lot of basketball aficionados and experts in the industry. One of those was Gino Auriemma. At that time, we were talking about some of our candidates, and he had mentioned Kurt Miller. Kurt had never been in our pool of candidates or even really on our radar at that time. So it was really exciting to kind of learn a little bit about Kurt. So doing some homework, we reached out to a lot of different people to find out a little bit more about Kurt, what he could bring to the table. And there's a lot of good things said. Good with X's and O's, very passionate, dedicated, builds relationships, understands the game, wants to be out in the community and do things, wants to be a part of an organization and make it, jump forward to where it needs to be. Rebuild programs, which we don't feel is the case here, which we'll learn a little bit more about later on. But a lot of things came to the forefront, and all of it was good. It was very exciting to us. So, going back to Gino, he told us a few more things about him as we try to narrow the pool a little bit more. And again, talking to more people from the media perspective and other coaches that we really respect and admire, we learned even more. And again, all of it was good. So Mitchell and I got on the phone with Kurt. After that conversation, we brought Kurt to Connecticut and had some very thorough and in-depth conversations. And we were thrilled at the end of the day as to what Kurt had to say and why he was a very good candidate for us. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Miller time is really where we're at. So, as we look forward and we turn the page, we're really excited about what Kurt's going to bring to the table. But before we go there, I'd like to introduce Mitchell Levis. Mitchell.
Thanks, Chris. We do a lot of cross-marketing here. And you can see we have Jersey Mike subs. Tribe's opening a Jersey Mike's here in a few hours. And I think based on that, it's very appropriate that the recommendation for our coach actually came from one of our restaurant tenants who has a slight interest in women's basketball as well. So I want to also give my thanks to Coach Auriemma for all his help. He really spent a lot of time with Chris during this process and helped us get a great choice. As a result, this was a very thorough process for us. We knew it was a very important hire for the team. And we conducted a very, very thorough search, we felt. This is a great job to have. Anyone would tell you that. And we have a great roster to go along with it. After our postseason meetings, I think as a result of having those meetings, after Ann left, Chris and I had a great idea as to what we felt we needed innately for the team. And the more we spoke to Kurt, and the more we spoke to people about Kurt, it became clear they had all the attributes that we wanted for success. Great basketball mind, great communication skills, as you will learn as the media, tremendous love for the game, and incredible passion to win. And we had all those things, and it fit. So I'll just give you two anecdotes before I turn it over. When you're hiring someone, there's always a few things that stick in your mind when you're going through the process, right? So one thing was, it happened very quickly. We talked to Kurt. He came in like 2 days later. We had a great meeting with him down there. We walked him upstairs. I said to Chris, why don't you get on the phone right away and call Brian Agler to see what he says. Of course, as soon as I said that, I spent some time at the thing I hope to never go to anymore, the draft lottery with Brian, and learned that his daughter played at Indiana. And as soon as I said that to Chris, I said, really, there's no reason to do that, because I can tell you there's no better reference than I had my daughter go play for him. The second thing, and more important, that sticks in my mind, is we're interviewing Kurt and we're talking about a lot of things, and he says, I've been in rebuilding programs, I've built programs, I've done all that kind of stuff, but the thing is, this isn't rebuilding, this isn't building. This program is built. At that point, I said, this is our guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, the future is now. The new head coach of the Connecticut Sun, Kurt Miller.
Thank you. It's certainly been a whirlwind, and it's a great turnout this morning, and I think it speaks volumes of what this basketball means to this state and certainly the community and this region of the country. I'm humbled, I'm excited, and certainly very proud to be the next coach for the Connecticut Sun. It would be impossible for me to stand up here and thank everybody that's been a part of my coaching journey and made this day possible, but I would like to certainly point out a few thank yous and talk about a little bit of the people that made this day possible for me. First, for both Mitchell and Chris, I really appreciate it. I've loved the opportunity to interact with them. It was a quick process, but I felt a connection from the beginning of our conversations. In the interview process, we have a lot of the same visions, same hopes and desires and feelings about the team. And while a lot of great pieces are in place of this program, we feel a little tweak here or there it could make this organization very, very special in the short term. I also want to thank the Mohegan Sun, the Mohegan Tribe, and the elders. I really appreciate and look forward to this wonderful opportunity. I also want to give a shout out to my family. My parents, I'm a Western Pennsylvania native, are back in Western Pennsylvania. My dad is probably still trying to figure out the live streaming, but they couldn't be here on short notice, but they're my biggest supporters and fans, and I can't thank them enough for all the support. They challenged me throughout my life to chase my dreams, and they knew from an early age that I had such a great passion for the game of basketball and really had a desire to coach, and they really have been supportive my whole life of me chasing those dreams. I'm the youngest of three. I have an older sister and an older brother who also couldn't be here on short notice, but I know are watching, and they are my biggest and huge supporters. We are a very, very tight family. My story has been well written about that. I'm 9 years younger than my sister, who was a tremendous athlete and a great basketball player, and from an early age had great appreciation for women's basketball because of her and fell in love with the sport. I was one of those second and third graders when she was a junior and senior in high school, and I couldn't wait for her to get home so I could tell her all about her stats from the game, and I was just her biggest fan. And so it wasn't the typical points, assists, or rebounds. I couldn't wait for her to get home every night to tell her how many charges she took. And from an early age, I appreciated the small details of the game. And so I thank them for all their support and love through the years. I also want to give a shout out to my extended family back in Indiana. I still make Bloomington my home in the off season. I have twin boys. We have twin boys, my extended family, that turned 21 on Christmas. They're Christmas babies, and so I know Brian's probably watching, but it's finals week at Indiana University, so I hope that as soon as the press conference ends, he gets back to studying for his finals. But a big shout out back to my twin boys and my extended family in Indiana. I also have to talk about all the coaches that have made a difference in my life. I've played for some tremendous coaches from grade school on up through my high school playing days, but also the coaches that I worked under and learned from and took a chance on me through the years being an assistant for them. And one special coach that's here today to support me is LA Sparks head coach Brian Agler. Has been a tremendous role model for me and friend. He taught me so much this year about the WNBA game, gave me an opportunity to get back in coaching after my quick departure from the game, and it just speaks volumes that he was willing to fly in and support me, and I can't thank him enough, not only for everything that he taught me, but our friendship, and I'll continue to be your biggest fan until we play. But thank you for being here. And then to the coaches that coached under me. You can't have a successful career in coaching without a tremendous staff. And I was very fortunate through my time at Bowling Green and Indiana to have a consistent and loyal and tremendously talented coaching staff along the way. And they really, truly helped make my coaching tenure a success. So I want to give a thank out to my long time and talented staff that worked for me. And then finally, the players that I recruited and coached through the years. I've heard from so many in the last 24 hours because this ended up not being the biggest secret in the world. But I appreciate everybody reaching back from my assistant days all the way to the 13 years as a head coach at the collegiate level. I absolutely enjoy coaching each and every one of them and take with me special bonds and memories of each of them. And so I want to thank all of them. It's interesting. Today is like a dream. You have to understand that I fell in love with the game of basketball at an early age. I was interesting, probably starting in grade school as I was falling in love with the game and following my sister's playing days and really in my mind dreaming of being a coach. I also had a very special interest in the NBA. And I was an interesting kid. One of the things that I liked to do was I liked to memorize every single player on every single roster in the NBA. And I used to challenge my friends to pick a team, and I needed to be able to talk about all 12 players on the roster, be able to write them down or recite every single player on those teams. And I grew up, and the closest NBA team as a Western Pennsylvania native was the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I also grew up a Philadelphia 76er fan. So I was always trying, I think at an early age, Chris, you should be worried. I wanted to be the GM because I was always making trades. And from an early age, I was always trying to figure out how to make the 76ers or the Cavaliers better so we could catch the Boston Celtics. And so from an early age, I have dreamt about being in professional basketball and helping accumulate talent and coaching a very talented roster. Well, I was very fortunate that I was able to get into coaching after graduating from undergrad and landed my first full-time head coaching position at the age of 22. And I'm very proud of the 24 years that I spent in collegiate basketball, with the last 13 being a head coach. And I love my time in college, but I can't tell you how much fun I had this past season as an assistant coach with the LA Sparks and learned quickly how much I loved the WNBA. And so this opportunity is a dream come true. It takes me back to my childhood dreams of accumulating talent and putting together a great professional roster. And I am humbled, excited, and proud to be the next Connecticut Sun head coach. I'd be happy to take some questions, and I'll sit back down to do it. But again, really, really honored to be here in front of you today.
Kurt, John Altavilla from the Hartford Courant. Welcome to Connecticut. When you crossed the river from college to pros to work for Brian, was it your intention to stay on that side of the river, or once a pro, were you going to be a pro forever, do you think?
It's a good question, John. Certainly my mindset was to do everything possible to help bring a championship to LA. And I looked forward to that opportunity and got to work with some amazing players. I'm not sure long-term wise that I had envisioned becoming a WNBA head coach that quickly. But as I transitioned into the pro game, it didn't take long for me to fall in love with it. I couldn't get enough. After practice, we'd go home, and after staff meeting and we'd talk, I would sit there. I'm a film junkie and would watch film and get on Synergy and just watch players and just try to learn as much about the league as possible. So I fell in love with it and couldn't get enough of it, so very honored to be a pro coach.
Kurt, over here. How you doing? How much did the quality of the Suns roster affect your decision to come here?
Absolutely a tremendous organization, and I can't express enough that it didn't take long in the interview process to feel the passion and pride, and as you researched, the tremendous fan base, an incredible arena. And it speaks volumes with certainly the Yukon Huskies' success that there's such a passion for basketball in this state. So it all played a part of it, the entire organization. But looking at the roster in particular, the young roster was very encouraging. There is a lot of pieces in place, and I absolutely talked to them. I know rebuilding. I walked into 2 college programs that really needed rebuilt. And I shared with them that I don't think this is a rebuilding situation. There is a lot of pieces in place. But with any business, with any organization, with any pro sports teams, you're always looking to enhance. So we'll continue to look to build and enhance our roster, but there's a lot of fun pieces in place to begin with.
20 years ago, when you were an assistant at Syracuse, you were a part of a staff that handed UConn a fairly significant loss in terms of their evolution. They were just getting going. Are you surprised Gino still liked you enough to recommend you for the job?
I loved my time at Syracuse, and I don't think UConn probably dwells on that loss too much. The one time I went back a decade later to Syracuse still had that basketball from that win over UConn in a trophy case. It was a significant win, certainly at the time, and it was a big pride in trying to build our program to emulate what UConn had done at Syracuse. So, I really enjoyed my 4 years in the Big East, and I can't thank Gino enough. He was a mentor of mine. Not only the winning, but doing it the way they do it, and how they do. There was one thing that stuck out to me as a young coach when I was in the Big East, was if a UConn player took a charge or dove on the court for a loose ball, the entire other 4 players on the court would run over and pick them up. And it's a culture that is established, and coach probably doesn't have to coach that way anymore. It's just expected and passed down from the upperclassmen. But at some point, he coached that. And that's what I wanted our teams to look like. And that's what, when I became a head coach, I coached the little things of rushing out to greet your teammates at timeouts, to helping your teammates up off the court when they're diving on the floor. So I've always enjoyed my relationships with them. Coach Chris Daly has been a tremendous friend and a tremendous supporter through the years. And when we were assistants together in the Big East, we were very close. And so I'll be a sponge. And as much as they'll allow me to be around their program, I certainly look forward to that opportunity.
Kurt, Brian said this is not an easy league to coach in because it's relentless, great competition night after night. Where's your health that you can expend that much energy and focus on that now? Absolutely.
There's no nights off in this league. The travel is wearing on not only the coaching staff but the players. I'm in good health. It's well documented that I had a stroke on the sidelines in January of 2012, but other than the amount of donuts that I eat, the doctors feel that I'm doing really well. And there's always going to be stress in coaching, no more than what you put on yourself. But I've figured out how to manage that and manage that part of my life. And ironically, I had my stroke yelling at officials with a 30-point lead. So that will never change in me, the fire and passion. But if you're asking, how I'm doing, I'm healthy.
Hi, Coach. Ned from the New London Day. Welcome to Neon Uncasville. Sorry you're a Sixers fan. You're obviously a sadist and masochist. How would you describe your X's and O's style, your offense, your defense?
I had a unique situation where a mentor of mine was, when I left Syracuse University, I went out as the associate head coach at Colorado State University to work under a friend and a mentor, Tom Collin. And we walked into the time frame when Becky Hammon was the star guard at Colorado State. And so it was a great opportunity. And to this day, I don't believe I'm a head coach without that success at Colorado State. So to this day, I still credit Becky Hammon for allowing me to become a head coach. We wanted to put the ball in her hands as much as possible, as you can imagine. And so we sat down and came up with and invented almost a pro-style ball screen offense. And for 15 years as the assistant coach at Colorado State, and the 13 years as a head coach at the Division I level, my offensive style has been around a pro-style game of pick-and-roll basketball. And I get a lot more credit at the offensive side of the ball than I do the defensive side of the ball. I think I do coach defense, but the offense has brought a lot of notoriety to our program. So we want to play an attacking style of offense. We want to be up-tempo, which is also fan-friendly. And so I think I will bring an exciting style to the Connecticut Sun, where we're attacking and playing up-tempo, and I'm very much a big proponent of three-point shooting. So one of the things I think you'll consistently look at that we try to enhance our overall three-point shooting as a program.
Kurt, the egos in the WNBA aren't obviously as defined as they are in the NBA. But how do you think you'll do getting professional players to listen to you and respect you and follow you?
Well, I don't think it matters what level of basketball you're coaching at. Communication ultimately ends up being the key. And I've prided myself through the years that I can communicate with the team. Ultimately, my tenure will be judged on my communication with the team. And if they truly believe that you care for them off the court and are invested in their lives, then you can challenge them and coach them harder because they truly believe you care for them. And so my number one step as this day comes to an end is to contact the players and be in immediate contact and establish those relationships. Unlike college, where you recruit them and you're guaranteed to have them for a 4-year period, you're not in the pro game. And so the quicker that I can establish relationships and them understand that I care for them, both not only on the court but off the court, and live openly to them about my life and who's important in my family, and really talk about things other than basketball, I think goes a long way. And so my hope in the long run is to have a team that really cares for each other, but it all begins with communication from the coaching staff and then the coaching and the communication between themselves.
Reach out to every single player? Are you going to text them or call them, or do they? By the way, do they know about this?
Yeah, they're aware. I think Mr. Altavilla took care of that. And then I sent out a note yesterday. We did have confidence with one of our players because her sister happened to play on another team that he used to be with, and we got a lot of good reviews. So our players are aware that who our new coach is, and the feedback we've had has been very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly I'll send out an email immediately and then follow up and begin to try to contact people by phone and try to establish a consistent and constant communication level. There will also be consideration with the players in the States on who I can get to in a hurry and visit, but also the discussion on if it is important to get to some of the international players, the players that are playing overseas. We have 5 in Turkey. If a trip is planned to Turkey to be able to visit with some of the players, that will all be determined in the next few weeks.
That's a possibility?
Absolutely.
What stands out about your journey over the past 2 years to you? From Indiana to Los Angeles, and now you're here.
The thing that I'm most proud of my career is the sustained success that we had at Bowling Green. Not only did we rebuild the program, but we won 8 straight championships. And I'm most proud that we didn't build a team. We didn't build a one-hit wonder. We really established a culture and a program. And I was really proud of the sustained success. And as I ventured into Indiana with only 1 recruiting class that was able to play for me there, we quickly turned that program around. And with a second great recruiting class on its way and future verbal commitments, we really truly believe we were setting the table to continue that sustained success. So I at the end of each season, say that you overachieved. And there's nothing better. And so there was years where we may not have been the best team in the MAC, but we found ways to win the conference championship. There were years where we had the most talent in the MAC. We found a way to go undefeated in conference play. And so it's those opportunities, no matter the talent level on your team, if you can get your team to overachieve, you feel really good at the end of each season.
So, Kurt, how'd you get along with Nneka Ogwumike? We hear she talks to her sister a lot.
You know, I'd like to know what Nneka shared with Shanae myself, but it was an incredible experience coaching some of the players out in L.A. And there's no finer person than Nneka and their family, so I'm expecting the exact same with Shanae. And Nneka was an incredible worker, incredible athlete, a special talent, but she's humble and was open to coaching, a brand new coaching staff, assistants included, and someone with her accolades and honors to be open. And for that matter, Candace Parker coming in halfway through the season, you know, just had a tremendous second half of the year. You know, I challenge, you know, the people that make decisions, if anyone played better the second half of the year than Candace Parker. And you can just go down the roster. There was no one closer. I was closest with Elena Beard, and just the incredible professionalism of all those players was awesome, and I look forward to doing the same thing and building relationships with the Connecticut players.
Hi, Kurt. Jeff Jacobs, the Hartford Current. You said that Gino was a mentor of yours. Could you just talk a little about how you first met him and what your relationship was like, if you can share any interaction over the years?
You know, as a male coach that never had interest in coaching men and always wanted and desired to be in the women's game, as you can imagine, as a young male head coach rising up through the ranks, he was a role model for all of us. But he's also intimidating, and you know, so I met him first personally, you know, when I was a young assistant, but certainly during my 4 years at Syracuse from 1994 to 98, and competing against them and recruiting a lot of the same region of the country. You know, we formed that relationship. Now, as much as I consider him a friend and a mentor, he still wants to beat you. And I'll go back to this latest story. I really, really wanted Kia Nurse at Indiana before I left and recruited my tail off to get Kia. I coached Kia's sister at Bowling Green. I coached Kia's aunt at Syracuse. And it was coming down to UConn and Indiana for Kia Nurse. And so I shot him off a text saying, does he really need another good player? You know, like, can you please throw me a bone and let me end up with Kia? Well, I think Kia's family would kill me if she would have come to Indiana and I would have left. But, you know, that's the kind of relationship we had. And I think I got a text back, you know, sorry for you or something, you know, like sarcastic, like there's no chance. I can still remember sitting in Washington, D.C. at a AAU tournament, and Kia was playing, and Shay Ralph was sitting in front of me, and I was standing over her shoulder. And I watched her pick up her phone and start to text Chris Daly. They don't even know that this happened, but and I watched Shay text Chris Daly saying, have you ever seen the Nurse kid play? And my heart sunk below my belt because I thought we were really going to get Kia Nurse. And so I turned around and texted my staff things that I can absolutely not repeat right now, that we are absolutely in trouble. And, you know, but we have a great relationship, a great respect for them, and I appreciate anything that they've said kindly about me through this process.
If I just follow up on another area, you mentioned that you've learned to manage some things in your life, you know, for your health. And from the people I've talked about you, they say, you know, you're 24-hour, 7-day-week kind of guy that really pushed it. Can I just ask you, what are some of the things you've learned about managing things to protect your health?
Sure. There's certainly times where the motto, work smarter and not always longer. I was never off the clock. Truly, my story, if you want to be honest, for about 6 or 7 years, I slept in my walk-in closet because I didn't want to disrupt people because I'd wake up in the middle of the night and watch more film. And so I do sleep in a bed again, and try to make time to, make time for myself to step away from the game and make sure that I'm trying to eat better and get exercise and just manage it. And, I was once told by my staff that I needed more hobbies. And I thought I had all sorts of hobbies, but basketball's my hobby. And so, I've learned through the years, I'm wired the way most coaches are wired. It's a 24/7 hour job, but I certainly I'm very fortunate and had a wake-up call in my early 40s, just, a handful of years ago, and I'm blessed to still have this opportunity to be healthy and coaching.
Any more questions, guys? We're going to break out for one-on-ones if you guys would like to talk to Chris or Mitchell or Brian Agler's back there if you haven't talked to him, or Coach. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I didn't get you. I was gonna